forgotten, and you never will. We hold you close within our hearts, and there you will remain, to walk and guide us through our lives, until we meet again.
Thank you. It is.
Yeah, it is.
I would have. Okay, we're good.
It's tough to get old, folks. And it's tough to be married to a Hofer. Okay, so here we go. Lee Terrence Hofer of Lincoln, California, unexpectedly passed away July 22nd, 1922, from injuries he sustained.
2022.
Oh, 2022. Tough to get old.
Very late funeral.
So, injuries he sustained while saddle breaking his beloved mule Bobcat. Lee, our Bawana, our Creek, our just, hey buddy, as many knew him, was born November 8, 1956, in Sacramento, California, to Raymond and Naomi Hofer. He lived in Cheyenne, North Dakota, and Anaconda, Montana, for the first several years of his life, eventually settling in Lincoln, California, where he became a fighting zebra, Lincoln High School graduate in 1975. He was well known and loved in school for all his fun-loving antics, one of which was playing donkey basketball while riding backwards on his ass to score points. He married Suzanne Harris, and together were blessed with 3 beautiful children, right up here, Jamie, Jeremy, and Joshua. Devoted to his family, he spent time with all the kids' activities and adventures, teaching them to fish, dive for abalone, ride horses, raise animals for 4-H, camp, hunt, and play sports. That's just to name a few. He volunteered many hours helping to coach Little League and being a 4-H leader for all of his children, making a positive impact on many young lives across his path. Successfully reaching one of his dreams, he bought property near Camp Far West Lake and built a home with Mandy Hofer. Together, they worked hard developing the ranch and took time to relax with many fun adventures. Lee was an adventurer. During his last year here on good old Mother Earth, he found peace in finding his forever soulmate, Sissy Dawson. Together they created a lifetime of precious memories with unconditional love in riding Lee's final trails with his horses and mules, wagon trains, the Pony Express ride, and Harley and General rides. Treasured will forever be their last adventures to Bodega Bay and kayaking on Camp Far West Lake with their beloved pets before his final departure to explore his heavenly trails. Lee worked as a union carpenter for several years, actually quite a few years. Then he began his career of 31 years as a correctional officer, starting at good old San Quentin State Prison for a short time and finally retiring from Folsom State Prison in 2019. He was well liked by staff, and yes, inmates as well. Lee worked hard at treating others as he would have liked to have been treated, with respect and kindness, no matter what their rank in life was. He enjoyed working the prison tower on the river, keeping a close eye on security boundaries while taking in all the beautiful wildlife that he loved as they ventured along the river path. Many clubs and organizations filled his schedule with activities and fun adventures. Sierra Ghost Riders, Pony Express, Native Sons of the Golden West, Sierra Muzzleloaders, Just Ride in America, Thermalands Community Center, and the Appaloosa Club, just to name a few. I'm sure there's something in there we missed, right?
Right. Yeah.
The folks he met along those trails became lifelong friends. He loved volunteering and often rode that extra mile in all the events and loved working side by side with everyone. Ending each year with his beloved stuffed Mr. Grinch On the front of his Harley Davidson, he delivered with much joy toys to many children for Christmas. Lee was very giving and faithfully donated gallons of blood throughout his years. He kept his selfless act even in death and made his final donation of skin and bone tissue for those in need. He is survived by his forever soulmate, Sissy Dawson, children, Jamie, Jeremy, and Joshua, Michelle, stepdaughter, Jennifer Grady, and Albert, grandchildren, Chase, Riley, Jalissa, Xander, Mike, Julia, Adam, and great-grandchildren, Ivy and Born. Okay. Brothers, David Lightfoot, Rex Hofer, Kim Hofer, sister Janet Masters Hofer, and Gary, many nephews, nieces, and cousins, and countless friends. Thank you.
We're going to start the sharing session with three folks from the family, and then we're going to open it up to a share of
I'm Hannah Tate Johnny, and I am Uncle Lee's niece. I'm Janet Hofer Masters' daughter. Amen. And this is my son Zakai, who wanted to come on to the stage as well. He's never going to want to give us his attention, I swear. All right. So Native American prayer for the grieving. I give you this one thought to keep. I am with you still. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the dream, the diamond glints on the snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not think of me as gone. I am still with you in each new dawn.
Beautiful.
In 6th grade when his family moved to our neighborhood. By 7th grade, we were riding a school bus together. During summers, our families would water ski every weekend in Camp Far West. Lee was about 4 months older than I, and so had his license before I did. His first vehicle was a Honda 100. In the morning, he would pick me up and we would go to school. I remember one day, we got off school early. Lee, Joel, and I picked up a case of beer and took it to Joel's house to play pool. What a sight. 3 high schoolers, a case of beer, on a Honda 100, riding down Brookville Road. When I got my license, we would load up the cars with friends and go roller skating in Rockland. Lee always had a strong work ethic. His first job was working for Dick and Cordelia Mariner, herding sheep. Another job was harvesting hops with Bud Zelmer, and then in Rockland at the lumber mill. He worked several years in construction, and then 31 years at the correction officer at Folsom and San Quentin prisons. Lee started his family early, only around 18 or 19 years old. He loved his kids. As his family grew with the addition of Jamie, Jeremy, and Joshua, I was always invited to celebrate birthdays. I didn't have children myself, and they were my surrogate family. Many afternoons, I would pick up Jeremy as a little boy and take him riding in my cattle truck. It seems like we shared so many firsts together, whether it be water skiing, snow skiing, skin diving, abalones, birthdays, weddings, and deaths. Seldom do we go a week without seeing each other or talking on the phone. Unlike many, Lee stuck with me when I broke my neck. He came to San Jose and took personal care classes. Before I had an accessible vehicle, he would pick me up and take me out. When he built his home, he put a ramp and a wheelchair accessible bathroom in it. If ever I needed help, he was there. Lee was incredibly intuitive. He knew I wanted to push as much as I could, but whenever there was a grade, you could feel his gentle hand on the back of my wheelchair giving me help. I can't believe he's gone. Every time I hear a Harley, I turn to see if it's Lee. Every time I see something he would like, I reach for my phone to call him. Lee was like a twin brother from a different mother. Lee went out doing what he loved. He loved horses, motorcycles, family, and friends. Lee loved life and has left a huge hole in our lives. He was one of a kind. I won't miss you, Buana.
I want to follow that. My eyes are still watery, so I don't know if I can read this. I'm another one from the East Coast. There's 4 of us that flew in from California. We're all, jet lag still set in. We're all from Connecticut, and we're all David's sisters-in-law or my daughter. I'm Kathy. I moved here in 1985 to live with my sister in Los Gatos area. She had just met Dave, and 2 months later she uprooted me again because we had to come to Lincoln. So of course, who was there? Lee Hofer moved us from Los Gatos to Rockland. So we've had the Lightfoot and the Hofer families took Debbie and I in, like Dave said, all the Christmases, the birthday parties. Lee was always there to help us. We enjoyed baseball games with Jeremy, Jamie, and Joshua. Oh, stop, you guys are crying. Camping at Salt Point, riding horses. Actually, the one and only time I did go with Lee, I got tossed off and my sister said no more horse riding. Lee and his dad taught me how to shoot a gun. My mother wasn't thrilled about that. Then when I moved back to Connecticut 4 years later, Janet and the group created the Wakuni Men, and they came to my going away party in their tidy whities with black paint all over them. Olin, you were part of it. Lee, Gary, Steve, Joel, David, Kim, Jeremy, you were too. I think you were 9. And then we had we got Lee came to Connecticut for David and my sister's second wedding. Yeah, you went too, but.
Talk about what we put in your life.
No, we don't know. It's a lot. I will.
Brother and I are having so much fun.
She packed up her shit and was ready to go to Connecticut, but we wanted to send her back home in style, so brother and I bought a big economy-sized package of condoms. And we shoved them suckers in her bicycle box everywhere. She went home with protection from
Oh, Lord. And my mother was the one that found them. God bless my mother. Okay, so let's see, I'm trying to go quick. Oh, and then Rose and I would come into town, and it was a big party for everybody. Party at Debbie and Dave's. We'd go to Lupita's, play darts with Kim and Lee. We'd, when my daughter was born, we would come out. My husband, thank God, worked for an airline, so I could come out every other month. And so Victoria and I came out a lot, went to the ranch. We fed Chicken Little through the sliding door that wasn't there yet. The cow bottle fed it. Let's see. Lee was one of a kind. He was a husband, a father, a brother, a an uncle, a grandfather, and a great-grandfather. He was a hard worker and loved his family and his ranch out in the country. Rex, Janet, Kim, David, Jeremy, Jamie, Joshua, Suzanne, Mandy, and Sissy, and all our California family. We love you, and we're sorry for your loss. He will be missed by so many, and I'm thinking he's up there saying, "What are you people doing?" I hope he knew how much we all loved him. Rest in peace, and I know you're okay with your mom, your dad, and Debbie's up there taking care of you. Thank you.
All right, everybody, are we having a good time? That's what Brother would want. Brother would want us to all have a good time. So I want everybody to just let it all roll out and make this a fun time. I wanted to tell you too, we put those Scrabble tiles on your table because we played games a lot growing up, and we always had Scrabble or Monopoly, and we always fought and had fun with that. But put you some tiles together, make some words about Brother, make fun of him with your words, share your tiles together. Everybody's got to work together. That's the way my brother was. So you make some words and leave them behind for us with your tiles. We'd love that. So anyway, all right, let's get this going. Okay, well, he's going to stand by and take it if I need a little break. All right. Oh, brother. I always called him old brother, and he'd always call me little sis. But old brother, cowboys would describe men like my brother as ace high, or of the first water, which meant a first-class respected gentleman. Folks would agree with this, as do I. However, though a fine fella, brother could sometimes be a pain in the ass. Hee-haw! Let's hear a hee-haw! Hee-haw! I can say that because I'm his little sis, and in composing this, brother poked me a few times with his approval. Yes, he made mistakes, had shortcomings as we all do, but you know, brother believed in God. He believed in grace and forgiveness and never stopped working to make himself a better man and help make a better world. Our Mama Naomi spoke and wrote of her beloved life events in person with us, and then later in some journals that I found after she passed. She shared about Lee's development and arrival into this world as a wild ride. Legend has it that throughout his time in Mama's oven a cooking, he was on an adventure of non-stop rocking and rolling. I believe brother was practicing roping on his horse as he was born with his lasso in his hand and wrapped tightly around his neck. Snipping the umbilical cord and giving brother his first breaths of life, Mama said the doctor was able to revive our little wild-ass blue-faced brother. Hee-haw! Hee-haw! That's the ass part. Remember, when I say ass, you say hee-haw. And life on his saddle trails would begin. Brother loved roping in folks for gatherings, adventures, and always kept his loving arms warmly wrapped around our necks throughout all his life. During our growing childhood years, Lee was our great adventurer brother, whom loved snooping around with no fear. Boy, howdy, did Rex, Kim, and I love following him for the next adventures, and boy, did we get pissed when he'd get us all in trouble for something he'd roped us into. His pockets were always full of simple treasures he collected as he roamed his many trails. Small, insignificant, sometimes broken items brought our humble brother meaning in some form and made him think about what he could use the item for, or perhaps share with someone else. Not shareable, though, was his collection jar of Cracker Jack surprise toys. Who remembers those? You still get them, but they aren't as good as we had when we were little kids. Some were still in the package. He wouldn't let us touch them, but he would let us look at them and marvel at his treasures and his patience with keeping them unveiled. His treasure collection grew bigger later in life as he switched from Cracker Jack toys to tractors, cars, trucks, guns, buggies, motorcycles, animals. What else, Mandy? Everything! Everything! But he loved that. He found joy in simple things, what he found along the road. It just didn't matter. His eyes were always looking for something. Some of Brother's beginning adventure trails memories were in the beautiful mountains of Montana where our dad worked in the Butte mines. We lived in a small cabin with a creek nearby and were raised on whatever Daddy caught or bagged, whether it was in season or not. Dad would always say his kids would soon be growing antlers if we stayed much longer in Montana. Legend has it, our adventurer Lee was using an old dull axe one day and Mama caught him telling me to put my finger up on the clock. Which I did, because I was his little 3-year-old sis, and I always did what my brother said. Well, I was a pretty dumb ass. My finger was spared with only bruises and a lesson learned to not listen to brother, but you know, I listened to him anyway. Next came the memory trails in Sacramento tomato fields, riding our bikes, playing Hogan Heroes in the barn, and building forts. Brother was the leader and always had the plan and the construction and the rules. One of our favorite adventures was camping at our friends B and Bill's gold mine near North Bloomfield, where Lee learned to hunt and fish with Daddy. Next, memory trails took us to Lincoln, where our folks bought land and we built our family home. Brother met David Lightfoot over there. Oh. And together, those two became inseparable buanas, blazing many trails with a true heartfelt brotherhood like no other. Playing football for the Fighting Lincoln Zebras, where the wins were far and few. Brother's passion grew for the San Francisco 49ers. I love all them Niners shirts. Give it up for the Niners. They got their win. They got their win. His passion grew and he followed every game of the Niners and the Zebras, never giving up on those teams. Hold that. Thank you. He'd ride his motorcycle to football practice and give many a ride on the back for other teammates and friends in need. Rodeo adventures were next. We were also on his list, and while bareback riding was thrown off and sustained a fractured neck, putting his adventures on hold. At least you would think, right? Wrong! With an upper torso body cast on. Shortly after Brother got his ass home, he got back on the motorcycle and hit the trails again. What the hell was he thinking? Injury? Thank you for bearing with me, everybody. Injuries while at adventures were common for Brother. From falling off, these are the ones I know. I know there's others I don't even know about. You all probably know more than I do. But falling from a roof while working construction, sustaining a subdural brain bleed and bilateral fractured wrist. Getting impaled by, I don't know if it was the bull, Manny, was it the bull or the cow impaled him? You remember? Well, something. Yeah, it got him though. But that was another one that he got. Also was, here, I'll get my place back. Crashing his motorcycle, getting severe road burn injuries, sustaining first and second degree burns while making moonshine. He recovered and for the remainder of his life, never stopped, getting back on his feet, pulling them bootstraps up tighter, back on the saddle, on the bike, on the trail heading to his next adventure. Yes, Brother was one tough cowboy, that is for sure. But let me tell you folks, that boy had an incredible soft heart of gold. He'd tear up and cry like a baby with heartfelt emotions while we'd watch Little House on the Prairie. Or telling you about a book he'd read that touched his heart. All of those tears flowed, but all from that heart. Brother loved helping others and was one you could count on. He always showed up to help lend a hand and a hug. He'd lasso folks together for just about any reason, and sometimes he didn't even need a reason, as he would just show up at my door for a hug and a chat. Oh, how I love those spontaneous visits with Brother. We siblings worked hard at keeping our relationships strong with each other and spoke in love in our words and actions, never to have any regrets, as we always knew how much we love each other through sibling adversities, and we sure had a few of those. We followed what our folks taught us about if you don't have anything nice to say about someone, you just shut your damn trap. And most importantly, always share love, grace, and forgiveness for ourselves and for each other. You're going to love this now, folks. Get ready to have a good belly laugh. One of my funniest memories with Brother required health care, but not for injuries. Here we go. Mandy, Kim, Rex, here we go. It was for our sibling colonoscopy. You know, we all turn 50, not far from each other, so we all need to take our turn. That turning 50 brought that dreaded exam to life, and I, the nurse and sister, was the first to get it done. Lee and Rex were scaredy cats and had not got it done, but I sure was poking them to get that done, because I know how important that is. Anyway, my exam revealed only fat girl hemorrhoids from being fat and pregnant. Kim, raise your hand. Kim's exam, listen up now, folks, I'm going to hit the punchline real soon here. Kim's exam revealed a few polyps, so he would need to get watched a little closer, get stuff shoved up his ass more often. Rex, where's Rex? Rex, raise your hand. Well, let me tell you, folks, Rex's ass was too tight, so he didn't get his done until a couple of years later. But now, here's the good part. Brother Lee exam, let me tell you what a surprise for us all. He had a damn worm up his ass. Yes, that's right, a real live, bona fide worm that the doctor pulled and sent to pathology. While recovering from his sleeping medicine, the doctor went over to Findings with Mandy, asked her if Brother had been traveling out of the country, or had symptoms of poor appetite, or had been losing weight. All of which he had not. But once Mandy heard they made you lose weight, she told the doctor, shove them damn suckers back up his ass. Now ain't that a good one? Ain't we a crazy ass family? Yeah, I tell you what, love you, brother. I've got more coming, bro. You just wait. So many fun, funny memories with Brother. Too many to share here, but be sure to catch me later and I'll tell you more about our Coon Creek neighborhood kids skinny dipping adventures, our gravel pit party time adventures, our abalone diving camping at Salt Point adventures, the famous brain damaged Jeep adventures, our road trips to North Dakota and crazy cousin time adventures, and here's one of my favorites, castrating sheep roundup adventures out at the ranch with Mr. Mariner using his teeth to snip those precious jewels off. Now please don't ask me about Brother's two top secret magic dick wand and his bed bug nipple twister story, as they are the best. Oh, how we had fun with Brother through our years. I'm almost done, you guys.
Only 6 more pages.
No. We're on the last round up here. My last memories with Brother was the call I got from Sissy the day in his accident, saying Brother told her that he thought he broke his neck after falling off Polecat, and the EMT were taking him to the Roseville Trauma Center. I arrived to the trauma center as I was working at the clinic that day, so I was right there. Not sure of brother's condition. Pulling that curtain back, I saw brother with the cervical collar around his neck, something again around his neck. Let me get my spot here. Oh, here we go. Cervical collar around his neck, but he was moving a bit and was talking, so I was relieved. I hugged Sissy, then went to brother thinking, why didn't he listen to us when we voiced concern about him trying to break polecat, whatever the animal. Brother was truly a pain in the ass at this time. Yeah. As I hugged and kissed him and said, what the heck have you done now, brother? His first words to me were, and remember, he's like this, and he can barely talk, and he's in a lot of pain, and he says, hey, sis, I think I gotta get a young buck to finish breaking the donkey. I said, or the mule. I said, you figure? You figure? I gave him the biggest nipple pinch twister I'd ever given him in all my life. And I knew he was in terrible pain, but I didn't care. I had to pinch that sucker hard. Okay, I just said, brother, enough. This is enough, brother. This is it. This be the last adventure. But I knew it probably wouldn't. Life would go and he'd be on doing something else, but I just felt like, enough, brother. Next, that nurse in me kicked in. Because I needed to know exactly what injuries we had here. Was everything going to be okay? So off I pulled that sheet down, saw my brother naked. I'd seen him before skinny dipping. I'd always peek and sneak on them boys skinny dipping every Don't tell mama. I never told mama about that. I started poking, pinching, squeezing. Can you feel this? Can you feel that? Squeeze my hands, wiggle your toes, bend your knees, I ordered. Yes, I can, he replied. I then said, as only a sister nurse can do, can you feel your pecker? That's an important part. With a surprised look, he stalled and said, yes, I can feel my pecker. Okay, now, I said, what's the other part, folks? Can you feel your asshole? Again, with that surprised, stalled look, he said, yes, I can. I told him, okay then, brother, knowing men get a good rush of feel-good adrenaline when they know their parts are okay, that his spinal cord was intact. And he'd need surgery to stabilize his vertebral fractures, and he would not have any paralysis like Dave. He was real worried with that. Of course, how Dave got hurt in Devon. He said, okay, I got this, sis, but damn, I'm in pain, and I need a drink of water. Brother talked to Dave right away. I got Dave on the phone and patched him into brother so he could talk to his beloved Dave, and they had words, and I think he even told Dave, Dave, I can't come and help you today. Can't fix that fence or whatever he was going to do. Closet. We got brother settled into the trauma ICU room for the night. He had a little supper. Didn't eat much. He said the pork was too tough. He raised better. We all finished visiting with him. I kissed him goodbye, told him I loved him, and would see him in the morning and that he will be fine with a long trail ahead of recovery. He asked Gary and to get Sissy to her truck safely. Gary then asked him if he wanted to have a little prayer, a positive thought before we left. And brother responded, why hell, I ain't gonna die. Well, brother was wrong. Damn it, I wish he wasn't wrong, but he was wrong. And his earthly trail riding ended early the next morning, and again with that symbolic lasso around his neck with that collar on. Today, as we celebrate brother in his life, he has once again used his lasso to gather us all together. Look at everybody. My brother would be thinking, these people really like me? I pissed some of them off. I was mean to some people. I was an asshole. But it's like, all that don't matter. It all don't matter. You have grace and forgiveness, and that's what brother would want. But let me get on with this punch. I'll probably cry at this point, but just bear with me. Sitting for a spell, he'd want us to embrace each other with our arms warmly wrapped around each other's neck as we remembered him. He packed into his 65 years a lifetime of adventures filled with his family and many friends whom he loved dearly. You know, Gary and I, this guy here, we had planned a Canadian hiking trip just before, well, it had been planned for a while, but then we passed and we weren't going to go, but then early one morning I was having my tea watching the critters come up from the ravine, and I just had that presence of brother saying, nope, you go to Canada, you had that plan, you go hike and explore, and you'll find me there. So Gary and I went on there to Canada, hiking in the Calgary, the Fifth National Park, or whatever that was called. Banff, but whatever. It was beautiful, it was spectacular. We learned while hiking that Canada, there's a symbolic treasure hunt folks do in hiking and exploring all the beautiful sights. While you hike, explore the trails, the waterfalls, the glacier lakes, whatever you're doing, you'll come upon two red chairs. Get the red chair, honey. You'll come upon two red chairs, and they're placed strategically at beautiful sites that you need to pause. Don't, you'll break it. Don't break it. Don't, get up. But they strategically placed two red chairs along the sites for you to take a pause. Pull up your chair. Teach you, oh, I'm losing my space again, okay. Where you need to slow down and take a pause. Pull up your chair and sit for a while and engage with God's beauty you see before you. Brother did this, I feel, throughout his entire life, pulling up his little red chair with folks and beautiful sights, taking time to get to know folks and hear their stories, while learning to embrace all the beauty of life that was right before his eyes. We were so busy in life and we just scramble and run and we're stupid. We need to slow down. Take in that beauty is what we need to do. I feel Brother did a good job, and I'm so proud of the lessons he taught me. Among some of the last words Brother shared with me were, I might cry. I'll say ass and then you throw me off. But he said, sis, you know, Bill says, my heart has always been in the right place. And I will forever stand by your side. Just like each of you, my brother will stand by each of your sides. I am forever grateful. In closing, let's practice what Brother did. Let's embrace his attributes, what we loved about him. There's things we didn't like. He was an asshole sometimes, like we all are. He made mistakes, shortcomings, did stupid stuff. But let's embrace his attributes, what he loved, and instill them into our lives to be better folks like he was always doing. Let's pause, live in the moment, and all pull up our chairs together to take time for ourselves and for each other like Brother did. Happy trails, brother. Until we meet again, I love you. I'm so grateful.
Are there others who would like to share something of their experiences of the week?
I'm Jamie. I'm his oldest, or his daughter. And I know I regret if I didn't get up and say something, so thank you all for being here. And Riley wrote something. This is his oldest girl.
Hi. Mine's really sad. I'm just gonna warn you, and I might not get through it, so I'm sorry if I don't. To my grandpa, I'm so happy that one of our last memories together was me cutting your hair for the first time in 3 years on the front lawn. I would have been calling you this week to tell you that I graduate in 3 weeks, and you needed to be there. You would have cried like a baby, just like you did at my high school graduation. You were my biggest cheerleader, the best grandpa, and my father figure. Who am I supposed to call when the front of my car is scraping on the ground again and I need zip ties? Or when I eventually need someone to walk me down the aisle? I'm so thankful I hugged you for a second time on the 4th of July because I didn't know it would be our last time. You were so proud to call me your granddaughter, but what you didn't know is I was even prouder to have you as my grandpa. I miss you every single day. Love you.
I'm really glad that I got the more the merrier attitude from him, and let's all go right now to anywhere, any adventure. Let's go camping, let's go to the water, and bring your neighbors. Like me and Crystal pack up all our kids, and my dad was their grandpa too, and he really packed up so much into that 65 years. He's done more than people that lived many more years than that. So I'm glad that we were raised by him, and I'm glad that he was a big part of everybody's life, and I'm glad to see so many people here. And thank you all.
I worked with Lee at Folsom Prison, and I was listening to one of my fellow officers mention the fact that, and which was true, there was never a bad word from Lee. He always had a smile on his face coming in and going out. And what I'd like you to do at this time is to let the family know how much we respected Lee by having all of the officers and correctional staff please stand at this time so the family can see and recognize all of us that came here. To show our love and our respect for such an outstanding person. Thank you.
My name's Larry Badger, and I go back about 30 years with we did the wagon trains and the mountain man stuff together for years. And at the time, I would always ride Lee, so you were dealing with the horses and having problems. And Lee was always the backup guy at the end. So you're always moving traffic and everything. And me and Lee got to a point where you could turn around and look, and we had a little thing going so I could understand that he had everybody through a gate or whatever so I could let the teams go. We were always doing this. Well, years later, we started riding motorcycles together. And I used to put these rides on that went up through the north. It was a 900-mile 3-day ride, and Lee went on 4 of them with us. One time we were coming through Reading, and it's typical Lee. It's like 114. It's hot out. And a couple of the gals that were riding with us passed out from heat problems. We could see them on the bike, so it was a problem. So we all pulled over, and Lee had the habit of just taking charge of a problem. That's just Lee. Right. We pull over on the side of the road, we get the girls off the bikes, everything, and there's no shade, there's nothing. Lee pull up with a nice chest of frozen bottles, stuff them under their armpits and everything, to cool everything down. And he turns around and he goes, "Has everybody got their side stands down? Because we all stopped fast and everything. Make sure your bikes aren't going to fall." It wasn't 1 second later, Lee's bike smashed on the trailer on the back, and it was like, yeah, one of us did, you know. And then years later, he started riding with, he rides with us, we're just riding with motorcycles around town. And he started riding tail gunner for us. We call him Sweet. So no matter who's lost or broke down or whatever, Lee was always at the end to pick me up, and I was always up front. And it ended up being the same correspondence. I could look in the mirror, 30 riders back and see Lee. He pulled his little plane, laughing like, we have everybody to go. Now we ride with 30 people and I don't see him in my mirror. It's real hard for him. Like, I miss the guy. He's been really good with us. We enjoy being with him everywhere I went. Lee was a good man. That's all it is. Yes. All I can say is, we probably doesn't say it enough, but we really love you, Lee. We're going to miss you.